Okay, cool. Thank you, Keshav. Right. Good day, guys. And today we actually, well, since next week, you guys are going to be writing your IT paper one, your trial or preparatory examinations. I'm going to be looking at, well, SQLs and code constructs today, which is question 2. And today is 2 hours, and tomorrow also from 12 to 2 is also 2 hours. We'll be looking at a little bit of OOP, which we started last week, and we're also going to be looking at question 1. That's one of the places you can easily score marks. Now, just to remind you, refresh your memories, question 1 carries 40 marks. Question 2 carries 40 marks. Question 2 is SQLs and code constructs. Question 3 is OOP, which is also 40 marks. And question 4 is a general programming skills question, normally deals with arrays and text files and etc. But remember, text files, string handling, all of those things can be tested in any one of these questions, right? So we are going to basically just go over some few basic concepts with regards to SQLs and code constructs, and then we are going to be looking at the November 2020 paper. And yeah, we are going to be, let's see, is it open? Yep, there we go. This is the SQL and Delphi code or code constructs question from the November 2020 paper. And we're going to be looking at this here. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, so, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Right, so the first thing that you need to understand is that when you are dealing with SQLs on your screen right now, you will see that there's a whole bunch of functions that we actually use when writing SQLs. And one of the things that learners actually have difficulty in understanding is when do we use certain things? For example, max, min, count, etc. And then obviously left, if you look at the bottom here, left and right and mid and concat, they deal with string handling. And in the past, they've actually asked questions like that, where you have to, like normally in our string handling, we have copy, extract certain characters from a string, etc. And that's what we're actually going to be dealing with. The other thing that learners actually get confused with is the where and the having, and also the group by, right? So we are going to move on, right? And okay. All right. Okay, right. Let's look at this now, right? I just did a few SQLs, and obviously there's the explanation over there. And remember, guys, these lessons are being recorded, so you will have access to it on the Africa Teen Geeks YouTube channel, which you can always go back and you can watch even for the final exams in preparation for it. So just very simply, these are some very, very basic SQLs. Please excuse the spelling error over here. I was rushing. All right. If you look at the first SQL, select asterisk from, and we have TBL, table employees. Now you need to understand the format. When we are extracting data, now remember this is a query. When we are extracting data, we are getting data from a table, we use select. Select means select these things. The asterisk means that we need to get all the fields. Now, when we are talking about all the fields, right? Just give me a moment. Okay, when we are talking about all the fields, if you look at this over here, right? Okay, for some weird reason, just give me a moment, guys. Well, while I'm waiting for that over there, we can also use insert to, we can always use insert to, oh God, this is ridiculous. Right, we can use insert of there. Let's just come back here while we're waiting. I have no idea what is happening today. Okay. All right. So okay, we're just going to come down to the questions here, right? And if you look at your examination papers, we're looking at question 2. Okay. Okay, here we go. Right now, question 2, basically database programming, and they're going to give you the table, and they're going to tell you that, you know, you have 2 tabs, 2.1, which is SQL, 2.2, which is Delphi code. They'll give you examples of there, etc. And you're obviously going to be asked questions based on that. Okay. So if you look at this once more, okay. Right, so the first one, select asterisk. It basically means all the fields from your database table, employees, that will display all the fields of all the records from TBL employees. Name of the table is employees. If you look at the second one, once again, we still use an asterisk, but the asterisk basically means all the fields. From where are we getting it from? So the format is basically select the fields that you want and where are you getting it from, right? And then obviously we use this key phrase here, order by, to actually sort the way our data is displayed. And this is being sorted according to the last name, surname, and then by the first name, right? So obviously it will sort it according to that. So to sort, we use order by. And then you're looking at number 3, right? Now here, I'm actually referring to specific fields. We're not getting all the fields. We want to select get, just the first name and the last name of all the records, obviously. From where? From TBL employees, but the first name and last name of only those people that earn an hourly wage that is less than 50. So obviously, if they earn 55 Rand an hour, they are not going to be displayed, right? So that is basically your condition. Now, remember in our normal programming, we have if, then, else. So this where statement is like your if. Instead of saying if hourly wage is less than 50, we'll say, listen, get the first name and get the last name of only those employees that earn an hourly wage that is less than 50. Okay, if you're looking at the next one, once again, we are only getting 3 fields, right? We are only, God, this is ridiculous. We are only getting 3 fields from TBL employees, but which employees' data are we getting? Only those that received first aid training. Now, if you look here, I've got here where first aid equals true. That means first aid is of type Boolean. So those people that did not receive first aid training will not be displayed. And then this is definitely going to be coming to this. Yeah, but let's look at number 6 first. We use count. Count is basically to count how many times something has actually happened, right? How many times something has actually happened. So we're counting, and normally it's count asterisk. We can put a field in here, but it's not necessary. Select count asterisk. Okay. Right. Select asterisk. Count asterisk, count everything. Now, what does this as mean? Now, remember when we are displaying our data, we have headings. Like, for example, if you look at this here, in number 3, the headings that the column names will be first name and then last name, right? Over here, we've got asterisk, it'll be all the field names. So where does it get the field names from? From the database. But count is called an aggregate function. That means it's a calculation. So it doesn't actually have a name. We have to give it a name. And we use something called an alias. So we're going to say calculate or count these records. But when I'm displaying it, display it with the heading trained staff. And that is called an alias. So how do we refer to and use an alias? We'll have our calculation. We use the keyword as, and in square brackets, we will have the alias that we want to use, the heading of the column. Now you'll notice I've used square brackets here, right? And I always tell all my learners, you know what, irrespective of whether you have one word or words as an alias, always use the brackets. Now why? The reason you need brackets is if there's a space in your alias, then you need brackets. If we only had one word with no spaces, then we didn't need the brackets. But it's always a good thing to always use the brackets because sometimes, under pressure in an examination, you might make a mistake, leave a space, and it might not work. So basically, it's going to count all the employees that received first aid training, and the heading would be trained staff. Okay? So let's come here. Let's look at this here, right? We're going to look at 2.1, and we're going to just try to answer some of these questions before we actually move on. Now, if you look at the question itself, 2.1, tab sheet, question 2.1. Now, one of the things you need to understand, guys, is that you actually will always have a restore database button. Now, what does that mean? That means that while we were writing the code, if we made a mistake with a particular SQL and it changed all the records, we need to go back to the original and you use the restore database button. It sets it back to the original, right? Remember, they give you these things here. Now, the content of the database is password protected. Don't worry about that. You will not be able to access the database directly. Code is provided to link. So they're giving you the code to link your GUI, your graphical user interface, to the database. So you don't have to change anything there. And also they will declare two variables. Now, these two variables are ADO tables. These two variables are used for code constructs, which is question 2.2. Now, what the examiners tend to do is this here. In our database, the name of the table employees is the same as the variable name, so we don't have to remember two different names. All right. Now, this is our GUI. We have 5 questions, all right? We have 5 questions, and let's go and look at the first question, list of employees. And the important thing is this, guys, that when you look at this, you need to look at the number of marks that are being allocated to that question. Because generally, if it's 3 marks, it should take you around 3 minutes to actually answer that. All right? So 2.1.1, list of employees, button 2.1.1, display all the information on employees. From where? From TBL employees. Firstly, sorted in ascending order according to job title. And secondly, according to the hourly wage field in descending order. All right. So, and they give you a sample output of here. So you know that when you do this, you can actually see it. All right. So let's go and try that out. And the other thing you need to understand is that when it comes to SQLs, guys, oh, sorry about this. I was actually, okay. This is what they're going to give you. This is the code. And remember, whether it's 3 marks or 5 marks or 9 marks, it's all for one line of code. So this is one of the easiest questions to actually score a huge amount of marks in. And the best part is this, that even if your SQL does not work, right? Remember that you are going to get part marks for example, if you got the select part correct, etc. I will show you the memo in a bit. All right. So we want to get, the question is all the information. We want to get all the information. So we're going to start off with select. It means get. Select what? All the information. So it's going to be asterisk. Now we need to basically tell the SQL, where do we get the data from? And we are getting it from TBL employees, right? So we're getting all the fields from, and I must out that word, the keyword from. Okay, now this is what I tell my learners. Just go and do that over there and go and right? Just go and do on it, see if it works. And then you can move. Okay, I have two errors over here. What is the error? Okay, this is weird. Semicolon, guys. I actually must add a semicolon. Okay, so whenever you are building an SQL, you do it bit by bit so that you can see that. Okay, do the next part, I'm still going to get part marks for it. Now, remember, just now I told you, if we want to sort, it is order by. Order by what? Order by, and in bold, that's the name of our fields that we're going to be ordering by. So it's going to be order by job title. And what order was that? Was that ascending? Yeah, in ascending order of job title, right? So I can go and put in ASC, job title ascending, comma, and I think the other one was hourly wage. Hourly wage, and this for descending we use DESC. Okay. Okay, I can't seem to see my and my I'm gonna come here. I'm just gonna do that semicolon and slash slash. All right, let's go and run that. I'm in the wrong place. No, correct. Okay. So let's go check it out. And once again, I'm just going to come here. I've got Franklin, Ricardo, Thomas, Jonathan. I'm just looking at the first names, right? And I need to see whether if it's going to do that for me. Franklin, Ricardo, Jonathan. Franklin, Ricardo, Jonathan, Thomas, Jonathan. Is that correct? Thomas, Jonathan. Yeah. If you look at it, and they will and then trickle descending. Okay. Now, right? We can also use SQLs for insert and right, but generally recent years, guys, what they've been doing is this here, the add, the update, the add, they will actually ask you to do it in 2.2 using code constructs, but we are going to be covering all of this, right? So don't stress, right? Okay, we will come back to that now. Let's go back here. Let's go look at 2.2, 2.1.2. Now, let's read and understand the question. Display the employee ID, last name, and first name. So we are only getting the 3 fields of employees whose job titles contain the word engineer. Now, this is important. The word engineer. It's not just engineer, because remember, you get different types of engineers. You get civil engineers, you get electrical engineers. Here, look at here. We have electrical engineer, we've got a civil engineer, we've got a marine engineer, and that should tell you something, that we can't really use an equal to see it, right? So I come here, and we're going to go with select. And what do we need to get from there? We need the employee ID, last name, and first name, right? So select employee ID, last name, comma, first name. Where am I getting it from? From TBL employees. Okay, that's all I'm doing first. I'm not doing anything else. I just want to see, hey, wait a minute, is this going to get my data for me? Right, those three fields. Okay, it's getting that for me. Very good. Now I can continue. So you need to understand something. Do not try to go do everything at once. Do it bit by bit so that you can understand, right? Whether, okay, this part is working, the next part is working, and it'll be easier for you to pinpoint where your error is. If you try to write the entire SQL at once, a complicated SQL, and it doesn't work, it's quite complicated finding the error. Okay, now contains the word engineer. Now, because it's not just the word engineer on its own, that means it contains it. We're going to use the like statement. Remember that, guys? We're going to use the like statement, but remember it's a condition. And how do we represent a condition in SQLs? We can't use an if. The key word is where. And job title, yeah? Where job title, we can't say equal. We cannot say equal, right? We are going to use like. And like what? And this will come in double quotes, people. Like what? Like, and this is not going to work, I'm telling you now, right? Like engineer, right? Okay. So I'm just going to go there, do that, and do that. And I'm going to run it, and I have an error. And what is the error? What does that mean, guys? From TBL employees with job title semicolon. Okay, so, and now? Okay. I can't spell, guys. Okay. There you see, these are errors that we're going to be getting, guys. It's still under overwrite. And some of y'all must have come across that problem. Look at here, guys. Can you see it says here insert? And this is a lot of people make this mistake. Can you see this insert here? On your keyboard, if all of you look at your keyboards, you have an insert key somewhere there. If you press that insert key, it becomes overwrite. That means when you type, it'll overwrite what is already there. So if you press insert again, it comes right. Okay. Okay, here we go. I told you nothing is going to be displayed. And why did I tell you that? Because when you use the like statement, guys, when you use like, you are actually supposed to use a wildcard, right? And our wildcard means it must contain engineer. That means engineer can be at the beginning, engineer can be at the end, or engineer. So in order to achieve that, our wildcard is a percentage sign. We actually surround the word engineer with percentage symbols. Okay, let's go. Can you see that, guys? Let's go look at our sample output. We got Weasley, Brown, Isishlala, main keys. Weasley, Brown, Isishlala, main keys. Okay. Right? So if you look at this over here, now the other thing I actually wanted to discuss with you people is this. You'll notice that our SQLs become extremely long. And this is something that I was actually looking at earlier today. What I would do is this. I would come here after I've got select all my fields, and this is important, guys, I'm going to come here, I'm going to close the string, I'm going to put a plus, I'm going to put another single quote, come back here, important, and I'm going to press enter. Can you see that? There's a space there, and then once again, can you see this like over here? I'm going to put a single quote plus another single quote, come back there and press enter. So I can see everything over here. Well, obviously you can go make your screen wider, but the lines become quite long, right? So this plus will join the next part. And remember, you do need the space at the beginning over there. Plus is at the end, spaces in front, and let's go and look at it work again. Okay, so far we've just been using select. In the first one, we got all our fields sorted. In the second one, we're only getting 3 fields, and there's a condition, and we had to use like. So this is important. It says this contains, right? It didn't say where the job title is engineer. If they said is engineer, then you don't need wildcards, right? Contains, that means there's more than one word there. All right. Moving on. Job titles, button 2.1.3, job titles. Now, display a list of all the different job titles at the company. Each job title must be displayed once only. And here's your example here, job title. So we only want job titles, right? And how many marks is that? That's 3 marks. The previous question was 4 marks. So just to go through this over here, there's a previous question, 4 marks. I would say 1 mark here for the fields, 1 mark for from employees, 1 mark for where job title, right? Where job title like, and the other mark would be for this part here with the wildcards, 4 marks. So now let's assume, listen carefully to me. Let's assume you didn't know how to do this part. This part was giving you an error. It's 4 marks, guys. You're still going to get 2 marks out of it. So do not leave anything blank, right? Do not leave anything blank. You might actually, maybe the like part you got wrong, you'll still get the 3rd mark for where job title. So you need to understand that you will get part marks. All right. So coming back here, a list of all different job titles at the company. Each job title displayed once. Let's go and just display the job titles. Okay. So once again, select job title. Where are we getting it from? From TVL employees. And that's all I'm doing for now, right? Like I said, we build our SQLs, but by but. Okay. And do we have titles repeated? I got civil engineer, electrical engineer. Let's look at this. Oh, crane operator is duplicated. Can you see that? I mean, it's more than once. Electrical engineer twice. Okay. So how do we actually, site manager? Yeah. Crane operator twice here. It must, each one must appear only once, isn't it? So, and how do we do that? So we have to basically tell Delphi that, you know what, I don't want, or at Microsoft Access, I don't want all the job titles. I only want each one that appears once. I mean, each one must appear only once. And the keyword we use is distinct. It's distinctive. That means, you know what, if I've got it the first time, I'm not going to use it again. Okay. So let's run that. So we're looking at distinct over here, guys. And you'll notice that we've got civil engineer, crane operator, electrical engineer, risk manager, site manager. Each one appears only once. So that's your distinct, and which that is 3 marks, people, right? That is 3 marks. All right. Now, looking at our next question, and oh yeah, we're coming to something that's going to be a little bit confusing. But before I actually, well, we'll look at that just now. Right, button 4, remove records. Now, remember, I had the notes over there for delete. What we're going to do is see how delete actually works. Now, here's the thing, and this is important, right? And this is why we need they actually put in a restore database thing. Okay, so let's read the question. A number of records with incorrect data on the hours worked have been captured in TBL hour logs. That's our other table, guys, right? Dates incorrect. Remove all the records. Remove. What is that going to be, guys? Delete. Remove is another way of saying delete. All records in this table, TBL hour logs, where they're actually giving us here, where the field hours worked has a value of 99, right? So remove all records. Only those records where the hours worked is 99. Code has been provided to display a message. I really don't know why they do this. If they let you do it, at least you'll get an extra mark. But anyway, let's look at it. I'm going to go do something wrong now because I want to show you what happens. Okay, so here we are. The keyword is delete. Where am I deleting from? I'm deleting from TBL hour logs. That's it. Let's go see what happens now. I'm sure some of you can figure out what's going to happen. Now, look at here. When I click engineers, when I click list of employees, it's giving me data, yes or no? Okay. I'm just going to do something a little bit different because our logs is not being displayed there. I'm just going to change this to employees just to show you the wrong thing that's going to be happening. Let me just check something else out here. Question 2. Whoa. Okay. Let's go try it out. This is scary. Here we are. Okay. Let's go run that again. Can you see list of employees? Nothing. Engineers, nothing. Because what did this do? I reset the database. Can you see that? List of employees. Ah, it works now. Now, what was wrong with that remove statement, with that delete? What was wrong with that delete? It's pretty simple. Delete from TBL employees, it deleted everything. Why? Because I did not put a condition there. And remember, it's supposed to be our logs. And my where is hours worked equals 99. So delete from TBL hour logs only where the hours worked are 99, right? Let's run this. And I just want to see here. We've got out. Can you see this, guys? I just came here just to look at this table here. And do we have a 99 anyway? Okay. Let's come back here and remove records. You got that? Database updated. What does that mean? It deleted it. Right? The error we got before is because I was referring to TBL employees. All right. Now, before we go any further, I told you that we would come back to this. Number 5. Let's look at number 5, people. What exactly are we doing here in number 5? Now, I want you to look at something here. Here we go. Right. I'm just going to come here. Now, I want you to look at this. Did my document open? Yes. Right. I actually pulled out the tables. Now, remember, at the end of your question paper, listen very carefully to me. You will have something called an annexure, and that annexure will actually have the definition. This is the definition of your database tables. So they'll tell you your two tables, what data types they are. That is important because when you're getting data or putting data to the database, you need to know how to do that. All right. This is your other table. But more importantly, they give you this. They give you a relationship. So basically, these two tables are related. How are they related? One employee to many. This is an infinity symbol, but obviously in paper 2, we use the other symbol, right? The fork symbol, right? One employee has many hours. Can you see that? So how are they linked? Employee ID in TBL employees, you see the little key here, that's your primary key. But when a primary key appears in another table, to link them, to join them, to make them talk to each other as such, that employee ID here is called a foreign key. Okay, so your employee ID over here is your primary key, and in this table, it's your foreign key. Okay, so when we need to get data from two tables at the same time, we have to refer to their foreign keys, right? So I've got over here, select first name, comma, last name. Now here's the thing, guys. First name and last name are from TBL employees, right? Let's go and look at that there. Let's go and look at our fields, right? Right, here we go. First name and last name are from TBL employees. Hourly wage is from TBL employees. But if I want to calculate their salary, I have to take, how do you work it out? If I earn 50 Rand an hour and I worked for 10 hours, I would get 50 times 10, which is 500. Thing is, the hours worked is in a different table and hourly wage is in a different table. So that basically means we need to get data from more than one table. So let's just go and work out. We'll get the first name and the last name and calculate the hourly wage, the salary from the two tables, which is what I've actually done here. All right, which is what I've actually done here. Let's look at it. I'm getting first name and last name from TBL employees, comma, format, hourly wage is from TBL employees, and hours worked is from TBL hour logs. What's the name of my heading? It's going to be salary. Now, where am I getting all of this from? I'm getting it from, now you can use a comma here. Your teachers probably did this with you. They used a comma. I actually prefer inner join simply because of the on and. If I have more than one condition to be satisfied, I don't really need to use an and, but you'll see what I'm talking about just now. So I'm getting it from where? From TBL employees, inner join TBL hour logs. That means I'm getting it from these two, which are related to each other. TBL employees and TBL hour logs are related. How are they related? The employee ID from here is also there. Now, on what condition, on what basis do we actually get data from them? On the basis of the fact that, now you'll notice, I've got employee ID here, TBL employees dot employee ID, and I got TBL hour logs dot employee ID. Now, what does that mean? Why am I using the table name? On all these places, I didn't use the table name. Why? Because each of these fields only appear in one table, not in both. But employee ID appears in both. Employee ID appears in both. So if we just say where employee ID equals employee ID, Delphi wouldn't know which table to refer to. So we have to basically tell Delphi, hey, you know what? It's check that the employee ID from TBL employees is equal to the employee ID that's in our logs. And only if they match, or for that match, then only you will work this out and link it to this first name and last name. So this is not the question that they're asking, but we're going to do that. It's called overtime, right? But fine. Okay. So select first name, comma, last name, comma. Now remember, we're calculating this, right? And we're going to build this up now, right? What am I going to multiply? I'm going to multiply, I'm going to put this in brackets, and it's going to be hourly wage times hours worked. Okay. I'm going to come here with a plus, right? I'm going to come here. And remember, I told you, single quote, space, right? Now, what am I going to be calling this here? I need an alias. I need a heading. So I'm going to come here and call it salary. So once it calculates it, it's going to put it over there as salary, right? Okay. From where? From, we're getting it from two tables, from TBL employees, keywords in a join, and what's the other table? TBL hours log. Is it hours log? Or hour logs? Hour logs. Okay. They quote and right, plus single quote space. So I'm getting the first name and the last name from TBL employees and employees, and will be salary, right? And on this, on TBL employee ID equals the employee ID from TBL our logs dot employee ID. That's all I'm doing. That is all I'm doing, right? Can you see that, guys? So let's go through this again. Select first name, comma, last name, comma, hourly wage times hours worked as salary. So let's run that. It's not answering the question from the paper. We're going to be building up to it. Can you see that, guys? It just gives you that day. It's not giving it to you in rands, etc. Nothing. All right. So let's close that. Okay. Now let's come back to this. And I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm just going to move this to the next line. Okay. Right, I'm going to move that to the next line because we're going to format this. Can you see this here, guys? I want it as money. So it's format, open bracket, come to the end and close bracket. And what do I format it as? In double quotes, it's going to be currency. Oh, damn it. Oh, yeah, currency. Okay, so currency, guys. So we made one change there now. And let's see whether it actually gives us as currency. Okay, on my machine, I'm sorry, it's dollars. I didn't change it, but you do understand that, right? Okay, but you'll notice something. Look at this here. Look at this here. Eustace bag, Eustace bag, Eustace, sounds like useless. Anyway, Eustace bag, Eustace bag. That's not very good, is it? I want you to look at this here. It's not very good because these are all the separate salaries because obviously Eustace bag appears there has got many hours. I only want that person once, yes or no? So, which brings us to, we can't obviously use distinct, right? We can't use distinct. Are you listening? So, or more importantly, let's put it this way. Are you watching, guys? Check this out. I want to work out the hourly wage for each number of hours worked. I'm going to come here and say, you know what, hey, for each person, let's add it up. Now, sorry, this is a little bit tricky. I'm going to work out the hourly wage each time. Okay, I put that track in the wrong place. I'm going to work out the hourly wage each time, right? And for each hourly wage that I'm working out for Eustace Bag, I'm going to find the sum of all of it. And once I find the sum of all of it, I'll convert it to currency. And my heading will be salary. Let's check that out now. Oh, what does it say there, guys? And what does that mean? You try to execute a query that does not include the specified expression, first name. When you get this error, it basically means I'm getting first name, I'm getting last name, but I actually have an aggregate function here, sum. Can you see that? Previously it worked is because I wasn't using an aggregate function. I didn't have the word sum, but I've got the word sum. So when you put an aggregate function in over there, it gives you an error. So if you are getting other data beside your calculated field, are you listening? Then I come here and we use group by. Group by what? Which fields are not part of the aggregate function? Which fields over here that we're getting are not part of this? It's first name and last name. So I'm just going to go copy this. Okay, I'm going to copy that and come here and group by it. So group by first name, comma last name. So when we're using an aggregate function like sum or min or max or average, etc., right? We're getting other data from the tables, then all those fields that are not included in this calculation, are you listening? All these fields that are not included in the calculation, you group by that at the end. And remember, group by appears at the end. Group by appears at the end. All right. So there we go. Can you see that, guys? Now, Eustace Bag appeared more than once, isn't that so? But now what are we doing? We're finding the sum of all his salary, right? And we're grouping by. So you'll notice Eustace Bag appears now only once, and Franklin Ishishlala appears only once, and Jayshree Patel and Jonathan Black, etc. Okay. Let's come back to our question. And I'm getting something wrong here. Okay, let's see. Okay, sorry about that. That's just calculating the salary. Are you listening? Let's look at this question. Let's read that question, right? Employees are paid overtime. Okay, employees are paid overtime. Now, employees are paid overtime. So, for each hour exceeding 8 hours. So 8 hours is like normal work, right? Anything above, if they work for 10 hours, that means 2 hours is overtime. Okay, so how do we work out? Here's the thing. How do we work out? How do we work out? I'm just going to come here and make this all comments because when it's there, you can always refer back to it, right? And I'm going to come back here. Okay, now tell me, we want to work out how many extra hours they actually worked. Okay, so how do we work that out? So it's going to be hours worked, hours worked. Okay, I'm just going to come here. Oh, that's a different paper. Just going to come over here. And it's going to be hours worked minus 8. To get the overtime, it's overtime hours, it's hours worked minus 8. Okay. Now, if we look at the question, it says an employee's overtime payment is double his regular hourly wage. Is double his regular hourly wage. So if we were working out the salary, it will be hours worked times, right? If you look here, we worked out hourly wage times hours worked. But now it's going to be, if you look at this, I don't want to work out the hourly wage. I mean, the hours worked. I want to work out how many extra hours were worked. So if you look at this, okay, let's just modify this. Okay. I'm going to come here. I'm going to put this in brackets. Are you watching, guys? An extra bracket there. And I'm going to come here and say minus 8. Wouldn't that give us the overtime hours now? That would give us the overtime hours. Can you see that? And the overtime hours is double the hourly wage. So I'm going to come here. How do we double this? I'm just going to come here by hourly wage, and I'm going to come here and say times 2. So if you look at that now, it's there. This is the number of overtime hours calculated. Can you see that? And this is their rate. Sorry about that. Their rate is double. Okay. So to work out overtime hours, it's minus 8 times 2 times the hourly wage. We're still going to find the sum. We're still going to format it as currency. Can you see that? Okay. And remember, bag had 20,000 or something. Oh, and this must be called what? Overtime amount. Overtime AMT. All right, so you'll notice that when we're building it up, we didn't start off with sum and format. We just started with the multiplication. Then we added the sum. Then we added the format, right? So the basic thing is this, that when you are getting data from more than one table, don't worry about the hectic calculations. Just do it so you can display their link, and from there you work. So if we go and look at our sample output, we've got 285440. Okay, let's see if this works now. Okay, let's go read the question again. Calculate and display the total amount each employee has been paid for overtime hours worked, formatted as currency. Display the amount using the field, display the last name, only the last name, and the calculated overtime amount. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to take that out because that's not answering the question. And I'm going to take that out because that doesn't need to be there. Can you see that, guys? Bag 285440. Bag 285440. Bayside 891480. Bayside 891480. Can you see that, guys? So let's go back and look at this so we can understand what we're doing here exactly. Okay. So I'm getting the last name, and then I have to do my calculation. So how would I have built up this calculation? Now I'm going to show you this. See this part here? This is how we would do it. And I'm spending time on this is because you know what, it's quite complicated, can be confusing. So what I would normally do is this, go do the format. Okay, currency. Now inside here, what do I have to work out? I have to work out the sum of everything, right? And inside here, I have to work out what? The overtime. And overtime hours is hours worked minus 8. And what am I going to do? I'm going to get an answer over there. What am I going to multiply it by? I'm going to multiply it by, and I'm going to put that in brackets, and the hourly wage is double hourly wage times 2. Okay? So we built it up. First the format, then the subtraction, etc. Or we could start in the middle. It doesn't make a difference, right? As long as you get it. Now imagine you got this part wrong. You still have the other parts. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you will get part marks. Because when your scripts are marked, you know what I mean? You are allocated marks for your code. So, and it still does the same thing. Okay, and that was SQL, and we will look at the other paper just now, but let us move on to code constructs. Okay, code constructs is basically using code to access the data, in, oh, I made a mistake here with the spelling, sorry about that. It's supposed to be we extract data from a table, right? So this is your algorithm, guys. See on the left-hand side here, this column here, this is your algorithm. This is what you would do step by step. Now, what you need to understand is this, that a table, a database table has records. Each record is in a row. So when we open a database table, right, we actually have a record pointer that's pointing somewhere. And remember, we want to go through the table from beginning to end, right? So the first thing that we need to do is the table that we want to deal with. And how do we do? It's dot. It will give you a list of a whole. First we open it. We set the record pointer to the beginning of the table to the first that T. Now we need to loop through the table. Now, like text files, guys, we use a not end of file, but the syntax is a little different. So we use a while loop. And why do we use a while loop? Because we don't know how many records there are. So a while loop is a conditional loop. Going, reading, and reading until it reaches the end. The end of the file of TBL employees, while it's not, remember it's pointing at the beginning, so it's not, it's going to come in. EID, I used a variable EID, is assigned and how to get data from the table. Table name, dot, field by name, and this spelling over here, and I'm going to show you a different way of doing this just now. See this here, right, is the exact way it's spelled in the database. That's why this is important. Your picture of examination, right? Because they, and you'll note that in your questions you actually have words. Okay, so dot field by name. Which field do I want to ID? And the reason I actually like code constructs compared to SQL is because we can specify, or if I'm getting as int, and I don't have to go to string to convert, etc. And then this here, I'm just adding it, adding the data that I extracted to my red Q2, my red output. What does this line mean? So This is your start of the loop. We're going to get the field data. We're going to get the field data. Whatever fields we need, we're going to get it. And then we're going to do something with it. Over here, what am I doing? I am adding it to my rich edit. And now this here is important because remember, the file pointer, the record pointer is still pointing to the first record. This command .next tells record pointer move on to the next one, and it will keep moving one down. If we leave this line out here, if we left that line out, the record pointer will always point to the first record. It becomes an infinite loop. The loop will never end. So point 2, and basically this is our GUI, and we've only got what, 3 questions. We've got an update. Remember, I told you add update. They generally ask you with code constructs because it's easier than SQLs. And then obviously over here we have employees with first aid. So let's come here and go there, and I'm looking at that. Now this here is spacing out your thing. It's showing you your employee ID, your last name, and your job title. Right? So what does the question actually say? Now you can't use any SQLs here. If you use, obviously it's going to be wrong. So the question is, write code to do the following. Firstly, display the employee ID, the last name, and job title of all employees who have completed first aid training. And where are you going to display this? This is very ambiguous. It sounds like they completed their first aid training in a rich edit, right? It's actually, you're going to display the employee ID, the last name, and the job title in the rich edit only for those employees who have completed first aid training. All right. Secondly, it says count the number of employees who have the result below the employee details as shown in the example below. Code to display the column headings has been provided. We've seen that. And this is, there we go. These 3 people have completed it. Count and do part. And I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing that. Okay. Now I would actually do this. I would go and declare a local variable, and I'm going to, well, count type integer. That's going to be counting, right? And I'm going to go and declare a variable s out is of type. You don't have to do this, and I'll show you the other way of doing it as well, but I prefer doing it this way. So first things first, we need to open, and remember, type in TBLE control spacebar. It gives you a list, so your spelling is not wrong. Dot open. I'm following my algorithm from my presentation. First, I'm going to open it. Okay. What is that error? Of type string. There we go. So TBL employees dot open. So I opened it. Now I'm supposed to set the record pointer to the beginning, right? Control spacebar dot first. Now I'm going to show you something. This is what I tell my learners as well. I need count, right? If I need a counter variable, remember before the loop, we actually set the counter variable to 0. So I'm going to come here and give it its initial value of 0. We're initializing it. And then I need to loop through the table. So it's going to be while not, and in brackets, TBL employees dot EO, and there's EOF comes up there, and that's done. So while it's not the end of the table, do everything inside this, begin and end. And this is what I've told my learners, that open first, while not, and here, before you do anything, just press enter a couple of times and go and put here TBL employees dot next. So even if your other code is not working, you're still going to get some marks. You're going to get a mark for the next. All right. Now, this is the part where we come and actually do the work. Now we need to get what? We need to get employee ID, last name, and job title, right? Employee ID, last name, job title. So you don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Employee ID, I'm going to call it S employee ID. And why S? Because it starts with the string, right? In fact, this variable over here, I named it incorrectly. I should call it I count, because those are the conventions of Delphi. We put the first letter I meaning integer, S meaning string. We needed, what else? Last name and job title. So I'm going to come here, S last name, comma S job title. Now I'm going to show you two different ways of actually getting the data from here. Right? Sometimes we might make a mistake spelling the name of the field, but what they've actually done for us here, guys, can you see this? The spelling over here is identical to the spelling in the database, right? So if they give us the heading, I can just come and copy and paste. So let's look at that. Firstly, I need S employee ID is assigned TBL employees dot, we can go with field by name. Now watch this. See this here? I'm going to go and copy it. And I'm going to come here and paste it. Okay, missing out the single quote there, right? What do I want to get it as? A as string. I'm just going to do this for now. Just this for now, right? Just to see A, does it work, right? So I'm going to come here, red, q2 dot lines dot add, and I'm going to come here with S employee ID. This is just to check now, A, is it working? Do I have any errors so far? So let's run that. Let's come to this. And there, it's giving me all the employee IDs. Can you see that? Okay, so let's move on. What else do I need? I need the last name. Now, just to point this out to you, tell me something. Employee ID X. It actually is your first field, and you field in places at position 0. Your first field is at position 0. Your dad's name is at position. That's 4. Now, why am I telling you this? Because what do I need to get next? I need to get the last name. So I'm going to come here. Last name is what field number? 0, 1. It's 2. And this is why I was telling you that. Is assigned TBL employees dot, and this is the other way of actually getting it, fields index 2. That means record the field at position 2, which is the third field, by the way, right? Once again, employee ID is 0. First name is 1. Last name is 2. Hourly wage is 3. Job title is 4. So, once again, as string. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to use S out is assigned S employee ID plus #9, because we've got a #9 here, right? Plus S last name. And let's come and display S out. So what am I doing so far? For each record, I'm going to get the employee ID. I'm going to get the last name. I'm going to join it with a tab space in between into S out, and I'll display S out. So let's run this now and see if that works. Yep, that's working as well. Right? So we've got field by name and we've got fields. I actually prefer this here, but this is your personal choice. It's easier to read than the correct spelling of something. All right. And then we need job title. Job title is also of type string, and that's position 4. So I'm going to come over here, S job title is assigned. And are you watching? I'm cheating. I'm going to come and copy that. I'm going to paste that. And what position do I want to get it from? Position 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So come here. Have plus job title. So I'm getting the field by name. I'm using employee ID. I'm getting it as a string. Last name, I'm getting it from its position in the table as string. Job title from its position in the table as string. I'm joining all 3 strings together and starting in S out, and I'm going to display S out. You can take this here, guys. See this here? You can take this entire thing there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about just now. Okay. Can you see that? It's displaying everything, right? But it says here employees with first aid, isn't that so? So we are missing something so far. So far, maybe I don't know how to do that. I do not know how to do that. So how do I go about checking? It's very, very simple. Now this is coding. So if aid training true, check here, first aid training is of type Boolean. So if first aid training is true, then only I must do all of that. Only, why go and do all of this? See all this here? This here will definitely happen whether we like it or not, right? That's why I told you to put it first there. Now, all of this must only happen if the first aid training is true. First aid training is what record? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's 5, yes or no? So, before I come and do all of this, I'm going to come here and I'm going to check now. If, I'm going to put this in brackets, TBL employees dot fields index and right, first aid training is 5 dot as Boolean, get it as a true or false. Now if this, so what am I doing here? I'm checking, I'm getting the field from position 5. Check if it is true. Only if, and field 5 is first aid training, only if first aid training is true, then only begin, you come here and you press enter, it will put your end over there. And let's indent it. But guys, indentation is extremely important. So once again now, we're going through the entire file from beginning to end. We're going to check if the first aid training is value is true, field is true. If it is true, then only come and do this. But whether this is true or false, this must always happen. Move on to the next record must always happen. All right. So let's come here. Who do we have there? Mankey's, Bag, and Patel. Huh? And that is exactly like what they're telling us here. Now, what didn't we do? Total number of employees with first aid training. So we come back here now. Count is assigned 0. When must count increase? When must count increase? Count must only increase if the first aid training field is true, which means it must come in here, right? And we can say increment I count. So that's going to only increase I count if the first aid training is true, right? So remember, we can get data code from this table, get the field by the name employee ID, and get it as a string. Here, get from the TBL employees, get the field at position 2, which is the third record, by the way, and get it as a string. Over here, get the fifth field, which is number 6 actually, as a Boolean from TBL employees and check if it's true. So we've got I count. I count is counting for us now. So when this loop finishes, I count will actually have a number, right? And it's important, guys, if you check, right? If you check, you're going to come here, total number of employees with first aid training. Can you see that text over there, guys? And there's a blank line there, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say red dot lines dot add. I'm just going to put, just to leave a blank line. Okay. And then I'm going to go and copy this line because I'm lazy and I want to save time. Right? I'm going to copy that line and paste. And I'm going to come over here. Let's see, what is it saying? Total number of employees with first aid training. Total number of employees with first aid training. And it's got a colon there, right? Colon, leave a space. And plus what? I count is an integer. I cannot display an integer, I must convert it to string, and we use int to string what? I count. Okay, and once again, let's go and run it. There we go. And that's exactly that, what they're asking us. And how many? 7 marks, guys. Now I want you to look at this code. 7 marks, right? Whether you did this part, let's assume you left this if statement out, you're still going to get those marks. Whether you left these things out, you're still going to get that mark. You're still going to get that mark. It's initializing to 0, right? So even if it doesn't work, I have 1 mark for first, 1 mark there, 2, while not 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6, and your if statement is 7. Get it? So remember, once again, dot open, dot first, while not, end of file, and before the begin and end, and before the end, go and put the TBL employees dot next, so that even if your other code doesn't work, you're still going to get part marks. But it is important to understand and to know and to determine right at the beginning what type of data you're going to be getting it as. All right. So moving on. Write code to add a new record. You're going to add a new record. Okay. Which brings me to this. Now this is getting data from a table. And we got delete. We'll come back to delete just now. This is adding a new record, right, guys? Now, adding a new record, there's your algorithm here. Open the relevant table, put it in insert mode. You can't add to it if it is not in insert mode. So we put it in insert mode, and let's go and look at our code. This should look familiar to you. TBL employees.open, TBL employees.insert, and I'm using field by name here. Now remember, it is 0, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? If field by name, it'll make it easier for you to remember, what data you're putting there, but you're going to have that annexure with you. It's the last page in your question paper. So one of the first things you would do as soon as they allow you to start writing is turn to that page and go number those fields 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that later on it's easier to refer to it. Okay, so we're talking about saving time in the exam, people. We do not have time to waste. So how do we go about saving time? So, and the reason I like this insert is because they're actually giving you the values, right? But with code constructs, even if the user was entering it into variables, it would still be fine. Okay, now remember, employee ID is of type string. First name of type string. Last name of type string. Hourly wage is of type currency. And in Delphi, it's called float. Job title is string, and that's Boolean. And this is why code constructs make it a hell of a lot easier. So if you look at this, firstly, TBL employees dot open. Then I need to put it into insert mode, guys. That would allow me to add records to it. The next part is to set my field values. Now, how am I going to be doing that? And this is what I was saying when I said about saving time. We're going to go with TBL employees dot, I'm going to use fields. You can use field by names, but this is a hell of a lot faster. I'm going to do that, is assigned, and I'm going to go put a semicolon there, guys. How many fields do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 fields. What do? I don't worry about those errors for now. What do? Copy it, and that's 1, 2, enter 3, enter 4, enter 5, enter 6. And remember, my first field starts at position 0, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to come here and look at my question, and it's EMP 986. So I'm going to come here, and it's going to be in single quotes because it's a string, EMP 986. Notice no errors there now. Okay. Then I'm going to come here. Okay. What's field 1? First name, Robert. Come back here. Robert, right? Come back here. Oh, no. What's the next one? Oh, yeah, last name, string. So I'm going to go there. And how do you spell that? Laubscher. Laubscher. Is that correct? Laubscher, right? That's string. What's the next field? The next field is hourly wage. I actually missed something, guys. But we will come to that just now, you'll see. Right? I'm going to come here. And, oh no, it's not going to be in quotes because it's a number. What's it? 195. 195.00. And it's going to, an error is going to come up here. Ignore it for now. Right? Okay. And then what's the next one? That's string, marine engineer. So once again, marine engineer, and the last one is Boolean and it's true. And that does not go in quotes. It's just true. Now, string, 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 string. Watch this. Dot as string. And I am going to copy this. And that's going to be as string, copy, I'm going to paste it. That's going to be as string, copy, paste it. That's going to be string, paste it. This here is a real number, so it's going to be dot as float. And this is a Boolean, it's going to be dot as Boolean. And we're done. That will assign it to the fields. Now remember, we put TBL employees into insert mode. We are assigning these. This is the new record. These are the new record field values of the new record. But to actually make the change to put it into the database, we go with TBL employees dot, no, it's not properties, dot post. Okay. So open, insert, what I would do, I would go and put open, I'll put insert, I'll put post. I'll leave space in between. And then I would do that there, right? So that would save you time when you are under pressure, copying and pasting certain things that are similar. Okay. And then let's go here and use a show message to say record. They're not asking for this. I'm just putting this here. So I'm running it now. I can see, hey, did it work? Okay. Save. Oh, that's the other thing. This here, this button here. Okay, I just did that for a reason. See this button here, guys? Under refactor, this button here, this double does save all. Every couple of minutes, every time you answer, do a few lines, whatever it is, always save all, or control and S on your keyboard, because your computer may crash, there might be power failure, etc. Right? And you could lose all your work. So let's run this. And we're going to come here. And we're going to come here. Did Robert, here there we go, EMP 986, Robert Laubscher, 195 Rand, marine engineer, true, and our message. Okay. So remember with insert, we are adding. So whenever we need to add a record with code constructs, it must be the table name dot insert, and the last thing would be dot post to actually make the change in the database. Now, you need to understand, and although this is not part of the question here, right? It is not part of the question here. Now, what is, it's EMP 986, right? So, oh, sorry about that. Okay, EMP 986. Let's run it. Let's come here and EMP 986. There we go. There's Robert there. Can you see that? Now, although it is not part of the question, right? I'm actually going to do this so that you can see how all of these things actually work. Okay. So now here's the thing, right? You can update one record, you can update many records, but before we actually do that, I'm just going to come here and where do I put it? I just need to, okay. Just double click here. Okay, so there's nothing there. Design, I'm just going to come here and put in a button. I'm just going to put a button here, right? And I'm just going to go and call it Okay. Now, why am I doing this here? Because I'm trying to actually cover all aspects of the work that you will need. So once again, we need to delete. Now, when to delete from the table using code constructs, we need to get an employee ID. We need to get an employee ID, right? So it's not here. So I'm just going to come here, var e ID of type string, okay? And the ID is assigned input box. There's 3 parameters there. I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to come here and say enter employee ID to delete. Now remember, your primary key, we delete or we update according to the primary key. So the user will enter an employee ID to delete there, right? Once again, TBL employees dot open. Okay, but this is the important thing. We have to find the record. We have to tell the record pointer, you know what, go there and wait there, because this is what I want you to do there. We need to move it there. And how do we move it there? We move it using the locate. Okay. Now locate has 3 parts to it. Which field am I looking for? Which field am I looking for? I'm telling the program, go and look in the employee ID field. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this value here that the user entered. And this is a partial key. You're just going to put open, close, square brackets. That's it. Now here's the thing. Locate returns a Boolean value. If it finds it, it will return true. If it doesn't find it, it will return false. Okay? So see this entire thing here? Must be part of an if statement. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to type if, and obviously it's going to be then. Okay? Now, if this locate is equal to true, that means it found it, right? If it's true, that means it found it. Then we'll do the following. I found it. Now I need to delete it. How do I delete it? It's very simple. TBL employees dot delete. There we go. And show message, just to make it user friendly, record deleted, right? Okay. Now that's it. You locate. In your locate, your TBL employees, the table name dot locate, which field are you looking in, what you are looking for, and you just put your square brackets there. Don't worry too much about that. Now, if it equals to true, it means it found it, then come and delete it. So the file pointer is, the record pointer is pointing to that record, delete it, show your message. Now, here's it to make it even more user-friendly. If it returns false, that means it didn't find it. So we come here. They might not even ask you this in the question. I'm just putting it in here, right? Record does not exist. So run. Now remember, I'm going to go for EMP 986, right? Here's my button here. It's asking me. I'm just going to go and put in Batman. Now, there's no Batman as an employee ID anyway, so you guys do realize it's going to tell me record doesn't exist. There, record doesn't exist. Okay, so I entered Batman here, which is ridiculous. I opened it. Right, I opened it. Okay, I opened it, and then I went looking for it. In employee ID, I'm looking for Batman in employee ID. It's going to return false. So it's never going to come here. It's going to jump there. So let's come back here and do that one more time. And I'm going to go and enter EMP. Let's go and put EMP. Okay. Let's just cancel that, right? Because I canceled it. 986 is the last record here, right? I'm going to go and take this one out. EMP 986. EMP 986. Did you see it move from here? Record deleted, and you'll see EMP 986 is gone. Can you see that? And if I come back here and add it, you see it put it back there? And if I come here, EMP 986, it deleted it. Okay? So that's how the delete would work. There's a reason I showed you the delete. Right? With the delete, we get the ID that we want to delete, we locate, and we delete. With add, we put it in insert mode, we assign the values to everything, and we post it. Update is a combination of delete and add. Now I tell all my learners, well, I did tell them that this is what you do, especially with your path, etc. First go and do the add, then go and do the delete, and then you can just copy stuff and put it together to make it an update, right? And that's very, very simple because I'll show you something, right? That's not going to be an actual update itself for the question. It's going to be a little different update. Tell me, this guy over here, Robert, he earns 195. His salary is 190. I mean, his hourly wage, right? Is 195. We're going to change that. Okay. So I'm going to come here. Oh, no. I'm going to come here. Can you see this? And I'm going to copy this. See this line here? And those three lines, I'm just going to copy it. Okay. I'm going to come to design. I'm going to go to update, right? And I'm going to paste it there. It's going to give me an error because EID is not declared here. So I'm going to come here, VAR of type string. And then, okay. So, okay, just tab, no. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, there we go. So you're going to ask them to enter employee ID, right? Get it there, open the table, and then you're going to locate. You're going to go look for it. If you find it, we're going to change. I'm only going to change one field for now, right? I'm only going to change one field for now, right? I'm going to come here and say, what field is that? It's field 3, right? It's field 3. So I'm going to come here and say TBL employees dot fields 3 dot as float is assigned. I'm just going to make it 12,500, guys. Just something ridiculous so it stands out, right? And what am I going to do after that? Like the add, like the insert, we have to post it. Okay, but sorry about that. You will notice that in the add, before I started doing anything, I put it into insert mode, yes or no? With update, we need to also put it into a specific mode, and that mode is called edit. We have to put it in edit mode. That basically means we're telling Delphi, you know what, we're about to change something here. So let's go and run this. And now remember, when I click this button, it's going to change the hourly wage to 12,500, right? EMP 986, right? Hourly wage. Yeah, here we go. EMP 986. He's not here. EMP, okay. There's Robert there. He's got 195. Can you see this here, guys? He's got 195. This is important, right? He's got 195. I'm going to click this here. You ready? That's EMP 986, yeah? EMP 986. Oh. Okay. I put that edit in the wrong place. Only if it finds it, then only must I put it into edit mode. Only if it finds it. If it doesn't find it, then obviously it's not in edit mode. Okay. So once again, there's Robert here with 195. Update EMP 986. Click OK. Did his salary just become 12,000? Hourly wage become 12,500? Can you see that, guys? Okay, that's not answering the question. I was just showing you that. Can you see that? Okay. Moving on to the question itself now. Update hours worked. For update hours worked, the administrator is able to change the log number of hours for a record in TBL hour logs table. The user must select a record in the DB grid. I honestly forgot how to do that. Okay. You must select a record in the DB grid and enter the value in the edit box to replace the current number of hours worked. Okay. So you're replacing the number of hours worked in our TBL hour logs, right? So firstly, let's come here. I'm just going to make this a comment for now. Right? And I'm going to come here. I'm just testing this out now, guys, because I'm just going to call it EMP. Oh, EMP for now. Okay, I'm going to come here. EMP is assigned. What is the DB grid called? DBG. So yeah, DBG. So that's going to be DBG. Dot, what is it? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna, how to get that there from you, I'm gonna do that with you. That's the first thing I'll do tomorrow, right? I'm not gonna waste time because we've got a few minutes left. Let's assume we enter the employee ID over here, right? We enter the employee ID over there. And then we need to get from here, what is this? This is EDTQ223. We need to get the new hours worked over there. So I need a variable of type I, let's call it I new hours of type integer. All right. I'm going to come here and say I new hours is assigned. Now remember, the data in an edit box is of type string. So we need to convert it into an integer, and there we go. EDT there, and we get data using text. Okay. And we're still going to locate it. We're still going to edit it. And yeah, you're changing it to 12,500, or this is wrong because we need to change it to what? To I new hours. Can you see that? And that's the wrong field, by the way. Which field is it going to be, guys? Let's come here. Okay, let's go back to, let's go run it. Oh, sorry. Okay. Hours worked. This is 0, that is 1, that is 2, that is 3, 3, right? So see this here, wrong table, by the way, guys. So it's going to be our logs. We are modifying that table. Okay. A, and there. And once again, what field was it? Let's come here. It's 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. It's the third one, so it's going to be, yeah, okay. And what is it going to be assigned, guys? It's going to be assigned I knew hours. You're assigning the variable to it. That's it. So let's go and look at it now. Let's see, 984. 984 has worked for 12 hours, right? Let's go and put here 2000. I want you to look at this part, hey? 984 second record, it's 12 at the moment. So that's going to be EMP 984. All right. And you're going to click OK. And OK. That is a problem. What is the problem? Dot edit. Oh. Isn't it integer? Hours worked is an integer, isn't that so? Okay, so 984. Oh. There, let's come here. Let's go and put 2000. Click update. EMP 984. No. Okay, we will sort this out. Well, I have to sort it out now, but that's the first thing we will do tomorrow. Now, just remember that all of this, it's going to come out in your exams. You need to know all of it, right? Doing your pattern, things like that there. If you have any questions regarding past examination questions and things like that, you can email me on nay731@africateamgeeks.co.za, and hopefully, I can help you better your mark or solve any issues that you have. Thank you once again, guys, for joining. And I hope that you've actually learned something today. And tomorrow, we're going to start off with this issue, this question over here we'll finish. And we are going to be looking at OOP, one question OOP, and we're going to do that very quickly. So I suggest you actually go through a past paper with OOP today, so that if you have any issues, you can ask questions tomorrow. And we're going to be looking at question 1. All right. So thank you so much, guys, and have a good afternoon. Okay. Take care, guys. And I'll meet with you tomorrow. Bye.